So in this video, I'm going to show you my entire productivity system. But before I do that, we need to answer the big question. What is productivity? It's not just this magical word that YouTubers like to throw in their titles to get more views. Well, I mean, it is, but that's not the whole story. To me, productivity means making as much progress towards my goals in as little time as possible. So that means completing tasks, managing my time, and staying focused on my goals. There's this misconception that in order to be productive, you need to just take action and forget about the outcome. And this is a huge problem because if you don't have a clear plan of action, you will find it quite difficult to actually execute on those actions. I use myself as an example. When I was in high school, I always struggled to complete my homework. It seemed like no matter how much I tried to discipline myself into doing my homework, I could just never get myself to actually do it. It took me years to finally realize why I struggle so much. It was because there was too much friction between me and my homework. And that's what it is. At the end of the day, productivity is about reducing the friction of doing hard things. Let me say that again. Productivity is about reducing the friction of doing hard things, because productivity doesn't come from discipline. It comes from clarity. And now I'm going to walk you through my 3-part framework that makes up my entire productivity system. First, there is the purpose, then there is the path, and then there is the priority. So for the sake of this video, let's imagine that your purpose is this overarching goal or vision for the future that you are heading towards. It's not necessarily one specific goal, but more of a complete picture of what you want your life to look like in the future. This is important because your vision is the thing that's going to motivate you not only to get started, but to keep going when things get hard, because they inevitably will. Now, I know some of you may already have an idea in your head of what you want to do with your life, but you might not have absolute clarity on what that looks like. So in order to find that sense of purpose, you need to start by looking inward. What are you naturally drawn to? Maybe you enjoy fixing things, or giving advice to friends, or making people laugh, or figuring out how stuff works. Maybe you've always liked sharing your opinions online, or helping out behind the scenes, or even just keeping things organized. These little things, the stuff that you naturally do without thinking, often reveal where your strengths and your interests are. What kind of difference do you want to make, whether that is in the world or even if it's just in your own circle? And what line of work or lifestyle would allow you to make that difference? And once you have that inner clarity, you will build a vision or a blueprint for your life. Just think, who do you want to be 5 years from now? What kind of habits, relationships, and environment support that version of you? And just as importantly, what do you not want in your life anymore? What kind of job, relationship, or lifestyle would be the bane of your existence? Getting clarity on both what you want and what you don't want helps you stay aligned and focused. Now, I know some of you may be wondering, what does any of this woo-woo vision manifesting stuff have to do with productivity? Come on, Abraham, just tell me about the latest productivity hack and stop yapping about this nonsense. I'm aware that all of this may seem a little bit abstract, planning out a vision for your future. What does that have to do with, productivity? The reason why I'm telling you all of this is that when you know your purpose and you have a clear vision, productivity stops becoming a grind. It becomes personal, something that you want to do because it's tied to who you are and where you're going. And it makes it much easier to understand the next part of the framework, which is defining the path you're going to take to get there. And it's important to know that you don't have to know what you're going to do with your life right away. I seem to change my idea on what I want to do with my life literally every 2 weeks. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with getting excited about a certain path in life, maybe making some action, maybe going down that path a little bit and then realizing, oh, this isn't for me. There's nothing wrong with that. But having a North Star, something to guide you, a direction to head towards, is really, really important, because without one, you will, in the words of Dan Coe, if you don't create a purpose, you will be assigned one. So once you've created a purpose and a vision for the life you want, the next step is building a path, something that connects where you are now to where you want to be. And this is where you take that big, inspiring goal and you start breaking it down into steps. And I really like to keep it simple by narrowing it down to 2 to 3 goals for the year that clearly align with my purpose. After I do that, I will ask myself, what would progress look like in the next 3 to 6 months? What about in 1 month? What about in a week? The goal here is to narrow your focus without losing the big picture. You're not trying to control every detail of your life. You're just getting clear on what matters most right now and what direction you're moving in. Once you have an idea of what your path looks like, I would recommend writing each part down for you to reflect on when you start to lose focus. When I start to lose focus and I start to fall out of my routine, get into bad habits, it's very, very helpful when I have my goals, my ideas, the plan I originally had written down, so I can reflect on it and get reminded of what I'm supposed to be doing, of what I promised myself I'd do. If I don't have anything like that, it can be a little bit confusing. It can, all of a sudden I'm making all these really strange decisions that I don't know where those decisions are coming from. It's essentially just living life on autopilot. You don't want to do that. All right, so it's one thing to know your purpose and to have a plan, but none of that matters if you don't know what to focus on and take action on today. And this is where most people fall off. They try to do everything at once and they end up making no real progress. But that's why having a priority is the third and the most important part of this framework. Each day I ask myself, what is the one thing that matters most right now? If I could only make progress in one area today, what would that be? And once I've answered that, I break down my task into two categories: deep work, shallow work. And some of you may recognize the phrase deep work from Cal Newport's book called Deep Work. Deep work is what actually moves me forward. So for me, that is writing, filming, and editing these videos. Lately, I've also added studying since I'm preparing to take the SAT. Shallow work, on the other hand, is basically everything else. So that's emails, admin work, errands, just the things that still need to get done, but they don't move the needle in the same way as those deep, important tasks. When you get into the habit of identifying that one priority each day and making time for your deep work first, you stop reacting to life and you start building it one focused step at a time. Now, I know that this video may seem a little bit convoluted and very abstract. I didn't list out like, here, the top 10 productivity tips that you can use. I don't really think that's going to help you. I don't see anything wrong with those productivity tips, and I can do those, but this video, this idea is more a broad overview of how you should be viewing productivity and your goals in general. It's supposed to give you some what they call internal motivation, or intrinsic motivation, I should say, because that is really what's going to power you through your goals, is intrinsic motivation. And you develop that by having a clear vision for your future, by creating clarity, by knowing what you're supposed to be doing each day, as opposed to just the Pomodoro technique. The Pomodoro technique and other techniques like that will supplement your productivity, but the grounds in which you operate on a daily basis should be decided by your goals and your vision for your future. If you don't have a goal if it's not written down. I'll say that. Speaking of which, if you feel like this video was very all over the place, then I encourage you to grab a notebook or open a doc, or even better, you can download my free purpose planner. It's the exact Notion template that I use to plan my days, and it's designed to help you implement this system step by step. So you can just go down below, click the link, enter your email, and I will send it to you completely for free. You'll be added to my email list, but you don't have to pay for it. It's completely free. I actually used to sell this planner, but I realized that it would just help way more people if I just gave it away for free. And as I said, when you download it, you will automatically get subscribed to my weekly newsletter, where I share more tools, insights, and ideas that I don't post anywhere else. It's all completely original content. So you can join 13,000 other people who are already subscribed to the newsletter. But whatever you choose, if you want to do it in a notebook, sometimes I do it in a notebook, sometimes I do it on my Notion template, whatever you choose, the most important thing is that you start. If this video helps you, please, I encourage you to drop a like and subscribe. It really helps me out, and it helps more people discover this message. And if you want to keep going with this, then check out my video called "This is Why You Procrastinate." Peace.